All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Fuel, Fire, and Freedom. We are a podcast, and dare I say, a good podcast. If you like authenticity, you like three guys that are very true to themselves, that are honest with you, are not going to lie to you, aren't going to bullshit you. Three guys that will admit when they're wrong, especially me. I'm wrong the most. We're three, if you want something like that, you don't want something that feels artificial, something that feels like AI, something that's authentic, then you're in the right place. This is, once again, I said Fuel, Fire, and Freedom. We speak mostly about automotive topics. However, we will cover anything under the Freedom banner. We love suggestions. If you got something that you want to talk about, send it our way. We're happy to do so. So, for instance, today we're going to talk about public land access and the threat to public land, and what you should be doing maybe to fight for your right for public land access and for your kids' public land access and your grandkids' public land access. Because once it's sold, it's probably not coming back. So that'll be our freedom topic today. Excuse me, and we're looking forward to diving into it. We're also going to be talking about one of the best off-road races in the world, King of the Hammers. Pretty amazing stuff that goes on. Honestly, incredible engineering. And then we're going to dive into the world of televised auctions, Mecum auctions, maybe some Barrett Jackson talk. And we'll end up with Jordan's Steals, Deals, and Disasters. And then we'll wrap it up with Spencer's Inflated 2 Cents. So with that, give us a like, subscribe. We're on Instagram. We're anywhere you can get your podcast. Feel free to listen to us. We have video on YouTube and Spotify. So if you don't want to just listen to us, you want to watch us, that's where you can find the video. We're also on Rumble. Got 0 views so far, but I'm positive that we might get one eventually. And so so crack a beer, get your grandma set up in her comfy chair, and let's kick this thing off. So thanks for listening. All right, these are my two hosts, Spencer and Jordan. They hate it when I introduce themselves, so we're just going to kick it off with our first topic of King of the Hammers. And Jordan, you're going to lead us on this topic.
All right. For those who don't know, King of the Hammers is probably the most difficult single day off-road race in the world. You go from hundreds of miles of desert running to driving over boulder fields they're 6-8 foot boulders, ripping through. And this year's was incredibly entertaining to watch. It was the 20th year of King of the Hammers race. And for the 4,400 class race of kings, they set out to make it the most difficult race ever. And that being said, I believe it was 86 cars started that race and only 2 finished in the allotted time. So it comes down to a real testament of your vehicle, your team, driver. I mean, you're out there in the desert and in the rocks for almost 15 hours with no outside assistance. It's pretty impressive.
What didn't they also even shorten this course this year? Like while the course was going, they cut a little bit out of it. And
yeah, so there's 2 reasons for that. They cut, I think, 30 miles of desert loop out of it at the end because they realized nobody was going to finish it in time. Also, that section of desert loop goes through the Marine base out at Johnson Valley shared use area. So they were only allowed to be on that space until midnight.
oh, okay. Yeah, I know
So
what they were
they
saying.
didn't want anyone stuck out there past the curfew.
Yeah, I saw that they were saying that if they didn't cut that course short, there was a very good possibility that nobody would have finished. Because I think you get 14 hours to try and finish it.
I think it was 14 hours. Yeah.
Yeah, and what I love about King of the Hammers is that they don't care if, well, I mean they do care, but they are willing to let nobody finish. They're willing to let the course beat everyone.
The course wins.
Like,
yeah.
Yeah, they are totally acceptable with that, and they're like, yeah, if no one finished in time, nobody wins this year, and that's pretty amazing. Can you Can you run through some of the different classes that King of the Hammers has?
Yeah, I can pull that up. Race of Kings 4400 class is like that's the big dogs. That's your unlimited class. You can, obviously, there's a lot of safety rules and stuff that go into what your car has to have. But for 4400, you can run whatever engine, transfer case combination you want. You can be long travel IFS, you can be solid axle car, you can be long travel rear. You can even run a 4400 spec UTV in that class.
Dang.
It's pretty cool. Then I think, I can't remember what year it was. So UTV did win it recently. But so if you go into the class lists, there's, what I like to watch too is the Everyman Challenge. There's, I think, 4 classes that run in EMC. You can do stock class, the 4600 stock class, which is, they created that class in order to drive the OEMs to build actual vehicles. This is where the RTR Broncos and stuff like that came to be. That's why the new generation of Ford Bronco has such a good presence at Hammers, is because of that 4600 stock class, which is basically, you take a production vehicle, and any engine and trans combination that vehicle could have had from the factory can be in there. If it was an IFS car, it's got to stay IFS. So you'll see all the 4600 Broncos are still independent front.
Solid axle rear.
Solid rear, but you're allowed modifications to width, but you're not allowed to change like the basic geometry of it.
Yeah,
you
I
can go
saw
into,
there's a guy, he did pretty good this year, and he was running a 90s Jeep Grand Cherokee. And I think he took 3rd in the Everyman Challenge class. And
yeah,
he had he was running portal converted axles on that Jeep. Obviously, you couldn't buy a Grand Cherokee with portal axles. However, it fit. I don't know if the axles were the stock, what you would find in a 90s Grand Cherokee, but they were at least solid axles. And
yeah. So that's the thing. If the car came with solid axles, you can put just about any other solid axle in the front of that, or rear either.
Yeah, and that makes honestly, that makes the 90s, I think the 90s Grand Cherokee's a good platform to build off of, because you could get them with a V8, and you could get them with a pretty solid transmission behind it, and solid axles front and rear.
Well, and Ford built the Bronco DR, which has a Coyote in it, and I believe it's got a 10-speed in it, and those were built for essentially short course off-road racing. They're pretty fun.
I'm surprised you don't see more like 80 series Land Cruisers. And
I think they're just heavy.
and
wide.
Yeah.
Well, I guess they're not that much wider.
They're not that much. No, they're not that much wider than, a Grand Cherokee, and they're not that much heavier either. I think
you're
probably
only allowed
their limit. I was gonna say their limitation, I think, is probably the engine.
Probably. And then I believe in the stock class, you're only allowed, I think, 3 or 4 inches of wheelbase change from factory also. I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure that's what the stock class is.
Yeah.
So
we're kind of going down.
Yeah. Rabbit hole here.
Yeah, we're going down the rabbit hole. we were going through the different classes, and we got to you started talking about the first one, and now we're diving down into it. But
yeah. So they have like Legends Class 2, which is a lot of kind of the OG builds, your old YJs on solid axles and big tires. Modified class is similar to the stock class, but you get a little more freedom to do more stuff to the vehicle. And then they also have an entire UTV breakdown of multiple classes. And those are pretty cool because you got stock NAs, so your non-turbo class that has to meet um, stock suspension geometry and stuff like that. Obviously, they put a beefier roll cage in it. You get stock turbo, you get modified, open, and then they actually started a youth UTV class to kind of bring some younger
Yeah, spur
groups
the
into
youth
this.
movement.
Yep. And then
That's really
one of the
cool.
coolest things that I think we need to do is the Hoopty X class at Hammers.
That's my
So
kind of class.
yep, it is a run what you brung. Certain vehicles require a cage, certain ones do not. It's pretty open. There's rules for safety, but there's not rules for what you can do. And
We gotta go find like an AMC Eagle.
yeah,
Go frickin' go ham on that.
4-wheel drive Eagle.
You know, quick story on the AMC Eagle. I remember we were gonna go up 4-wheeling above Nederland one time, and we were driving up there, and we get up to the top of after driving up this crazy icy hill, and I think this is the same day, Jordan, that we snapped your shift lever on your 4Runner trying to get up there. I think it was the same day, but we finally get up to the top and it was not easy for us to get up there with your 4Runner, and I think maybe it was Jake's Bronco. I can't remember.
Yeah, we had Jake's Bronco.
Jake's Bronco. And we get up there, and there's an AMC Eagle at the top, and we're like, what the heck? How did
I think he passed us while we were trying to fix the shift lever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I had gone up the hill a little bit and went to do, I think it was doing a 1-2 shift, and the shift lever just came off in my hand.
Oh,
The whole
snap
thing.
right off.
The whole thing. So I backed it down kind of off the side of the road, so it was out of the way. Yep, that was a good time.
I remember that. That was I was riding with you. We were driving up the canyon, and I think you had, like, none of your sway bars were connected. And I remember driving, and I was like, oh my gosh, and we are gonna roll this thing. We're getting so
All the body roll.
so much body roll on. And
body roll on what was left of the body.
We must have been getting close to one wheel off the ground trying to get this thing up the canyon. It was fun. No, if you want to build, here's my idea on AMC Eagle. You know, there's kind of a cult following for people to buy the old Toyota Tercels and make them into like their little overland vehicle. Buy an AMC Eagle and turn that into an overlander. You'd stick out.
That'd be funny.
If you want to be unique, and in a cool way. I think in a cool way, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah, I think if I get around to it, finish the axle swap on the red 4Runner, that'd be a perfect Hoopty X class vehicle.
Would. Yeah.
It's gonna be slower than hell, but it'll be fun.
So, where can people watch King of the Hammers? Like, is it televised on like a main cable television network, or
no? So to back it up a little bit, the last few years they started actually using drones, and Starlink has been a huge sponsor for them to allow internet connection for the drones, and now they're getting into each car has its own individual live feed to broadcast from the car. So in the last few years, this last year was awesome to watch. You could see most of the guys in the top 20 had their own live stream going on YouTube. And then the actual Hammers broadcast is done through YouTube. It's on their live channel through YouTube. And then if you want to support Hammers, pay for the their app, that they have. You can actually stream it through the app, and you get access to the trackers, and you can see where everyone is on course too. And it gives you a course map, which is beneficial for somebody who's never been out there and doesn't understand what the trails are, like where Jackhammer is and Chocolate Thunder and where everyone is upside down.
I just, we watched pretty early on. I think it was during qualifying, and I don't know what class it was, but, absolutely built monstrosity of a vehicle. And he lost control a little bit, gets off the course, and just smashes into that like 8-foot rock, doing probably 50 miles an hour, smashes it right on the passenger side front tire and the front axle. And he just popped right over the thing and kept going and made it back to the pits. And that was, talk about how well built these vehicles are, that he was able to get that thing back. And it didn't just destroy the vehicle. He was able to kind of keep going on. And I think he made some mild repairs and returned to the race.
Yeah, that was during qualifying. He actually, in the main race, I think he made it through lap 1, and in the middle of lap 2, lost his steering rack, probably from that impact.
Yeah. It was a brutal hit.
It's a brutal race.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. I think what I love about the automotive industry, and specifically racing, is there's a lot of different, dare I say, flavors of racing. You've got, rally racing, you've got Isle of Man, you've got NASCAR, Formula One, IndyCar. You have all these different things. And you also got things like King of the Hammers, which very, very different than Formula One. Both are very entertaining. Both have absolute incredible amounts of engineering behind them. Formula One has, they've got these engines revving up to 10,000 RPM or more, right? It's just insane to get this much power out of these smaller engines. And then King of the Hammers, you have these incredible suspension builds. You have incredible armor builds. These vehicles are running 42-inch tires and able to run. They've got 900 horsepower out of a big block. It's just pretty awesome. I do think, and I'm curious what your opinion is on this, having, being a big fan of King of the Hammers. Where do you stand on the battle between independent suspension, both front and rear, or solid axle? Because that is always the debate. Is it better to be solid axle, or is it better to be, long travel independent suspension?
Well, it kind of depends on your use. The thing with Hammers is they don't announce the track map for the third lap of the 4,400 race until the night before. So you can't go pre-run some of these trails. And that was what they did this year, was they introduced a bunch of rock trails that they had never run in Hammers before. So the guys showing up wanting to dominate in the desert, maybe struggle and winch through the rocks, they had the biggest problem because they couldn't make it over some of these rock trails. Whereas the winner was a solid axle rig. He was definitely not as fast in the desert, but being able to climb over those rocks is what won him the race.
Yeah.
So there's a lot. It's the rest of the Ultra 4 series, the other eight or so races that they run during the year are mostly short course. So they'll have some rock sections, but it's a lot of like short course jumps and racing and stuff like that, which an IFS car is going to handle so much better. So Hammers probably has the largest entry list of any of the Ultra 4 races by far. But you do see a good mix of both. I think in the Everyman Challenge classes, Solid Axle does pretty good because they're typically not going as fast and they don't have the 1,000 horsepower big blocks of the 4,400 cars. It's hard to say. I'm a solid axle kind of guy, but I like rocks.
I like rocks.
I like rocks. Yeah, it's cool. And then I don't think we've said, but where is King of the Hammers held?
It's in Johnson Valley, California. So a lot of it is in a kind of it's Johnson Valley OHV area. It's BLM land in the desert with quite a bit of rock trails surrounding it. It's also pretty close to a marine base. Like we said earlier, there's a lot of sections of that track that go through the shared use area of the marine base and JV, which has become quite a hot topic with the state of California and federal government trying to restrict use of that land. So there's a lot of places. Blue Ribbon Coalition, SEMA is actually a big sponsor of preventing these land grabs and stuff like that, which a lot of this applies to our local communities too. We have trails around here in Colorado that are getting shut down every year for infrastructure builds and stuff like that. I think this kind of segues into our next topic here about land access.
Yeah, we can dive into it. We can dive into land access. So this kind of falls under the freedom banner that we were talking about, and that is, your ability to access public lands. And this is definitely it's a more prominent topic for Western states. Easterns, Midwest and Eastern states don't really have a lot of public land. They were kind of already sold out before the government came up with that concept of public land, and we really owe it to Teddy Roosevelt for his efforts to get public land and make that available to the general public and not just sell it out. So a lot of your main public land federally, so there's federal public land and then there's usually state trust land, and that depends on the state level. But from a federal standpoint, you mostly have obviously you have your national parks, which those are highly regulated. So for the sake of this conversation, we won't really dive into the national parks, but BLM land, national forest land, those are the big two that we'll talk about and what you can and can't do in those public lands. And when we talk about, when we talk about the future of these lands is in jeopardy, I'm just going to bring this up. So a senator from Utah, Senator Mike Lee, he's a Republican. He was trying to push a bill and he was trying to tack it on to the recently passed tax bill. So this is in the last year. And with that bill, he was trying to sell millions and millions of BLM land to have it be auctioned off, probably to their rich donors and their their people that associate them and provide funding for their campaigns in Washington, D.C. And so this was going to sell land in Utah, Alaska, Arizona, California, Colorado, Idaho, Nevada, New Mexico, Oregon, Washington, and Wyoming. So almost all of the Western states. And they say, oh, well, this is needed because we need room for expansion. We need places to build houses. That's how they sell it. They sell it as we need to develop this land, and so that's why we need to sell it to keep prices down for housing. It's a facade, right? It's to get you to not pay attention. They're trying to sell this land to make money, and not they don't care about the price of housing. They really don't. In fact, I would argue, put my tinfoil hat on for a second, I would argue that they don't want housing prices to come down because the older generation that has most of their money wrapped in real estate, that's their retirement, and they don't want that to go down. That's why they don't want the stock market to come down, because they're 401ks, and they don't want the housing prices to come down because that's how a lot of these people are going to pay for their retirement. And that's the largest generation of voters. So you got to keep them happy. But this bill it was supposed to sell between 2.2 million and 3.3 million acres of land, which is a lot. And they argue, oh, it's only like 5% or 1% or something like that. It's no big deal. But it is a slippery slope that once it becomes normalized that this is okay for our politicians to do, they won't stop here. They'll continue to use the same argument because, like I said, they want to make money, and they don't care about the public land being sold off and how it affects you as an average, everyday American. So luckily, this drew a lot of backlash when this got announced that the senator was trying to do this. And it drew backlash from both sides of the political aisle. There was conservationists that were saying, you cannot do this. There were right-winged groups that were saying, hey, we utilize this public land for camping, for outdoor activities. We don't want you selling our public land. And luckily, there was enough backlash that this got completely stripped from the bill. And so this land will continue to remain publicly accessible land. So I encourage everyone to pay attention to when things like this come up, and then voice your opinion about, we need this land to remain public so that we can continue to use it, and our kids can use it, and our grandkids can use it, and their kids can use it, because this is our future we're talking about, and we want to make sure that our future generations have the same ability to access this beautiful public land that we have had the luxury of doing so.
Yeah, and that bill only applied to BLM land too. That we're seeing a lot of land sell off at the state level too, state-owned public land. And like you said, it doesn't matter what side of the political aisle you're on. If you enjoy going on a mountain bike ride, you enjoy hiking, anything that affects me for off-road trails and the stuff that we like to do, even hunting access lands and stuff like that. It's, as soon as that land is gone and no longer public, we'll never get it back.
No, it would take almost an act of God to get it to come back, because they'd have to claim eminent domain, and it'd be really hard to argue with that. So, let's see what else. Well, I did want to talk about with public lands. I wanted to talk about some of the things that you can do. So if you are not familiar with when we talk about what you can and can't do on BLM land or national forest land, you can do things like the King of the Hammers race. You can go out and you could set up on BLM land. You can go and set up things like, if you just want to get a bunch of people together, build a makeshift race course and run your UTVs around, you can do that on BLM land. You don't have to own the land. And that's, now, here's my statement about being responsible with the land, is you need to clean up after yourself, and you need to treat the land with respect. So, because if we continue to abuse the land, it makes a better argument for these government authorities to shut access down. Even though it's public land, they will shut access down. They'll shut roads, they'll put gates up, which pisses me off. Like, this is public land. Why are you shutting down a road so that I can't get back there? Um, that is a hot topic for debate. Should the National Forest Service or the BLM, should they be able to put these gates in on public land so that you can't get back into and actually utilize the public land? But on BLM land, generally you can go and camp pretty much anywhere on BLM land. Obviously, there may or may not be local restrictions. Wherever you are interested in going, look that up. But usually you can camp for up to 14 days in a 1-month period without any issues. Same thing with National Forest land. You can pretty much camp anywhere in a National Forest land for up to 14 days in a 1-month period. A great opportunity. It's a great way to save some money when you want to go and see things. So when we were younger, my wife and I, we decided we wanted to go see, oh my gosh, I'm blanking. Bryce Canyon National Park in Utah. And of course, there's lots of places that want you to stay and pay a lot of money because it's right outside of the national park and they want you to spend a lot of money. But there's also a little national forest right outside Bryce Canyon National Park. And so we went and camped in like 20-degree weather because we were broke college kids and had a great time.
Chilly.
Yeah, it was pretty chilly, but it was a great experience, and we were the only people camping in the national forest, and but it was March time frame. It was pretty chilly, but it was, we were broke. Like I said, we were broke college kids. We didn't have any money, but we were able to go and experience Bryce Canyon National Park, and we did that by camping in national forest land. You can go shooting in BLM land or national park land. There are restrictions though. You can't shoot usually within 150 yards of residence. You can't, or campsites. You need to make sure there's a good backstop. They don't want you shooting into trees. So be responsible with how you're shooting. And once again, be responsible. I would often go shooting in the Olympic National Forest in West Washington. And there was a couple places where people would set up these shooting ranges. And nothing pissed me off more than showing up to these places and they're just being completely full of absolute trash. People shooting up giant stuffed animals and the stuffing is everywhere. And TVs and just trash. I mean, it just pisses me off. Every time I would go to one of these places, I'd bring a couple of trash bags and we'd fill trash bags on trash bags of stuff. And it pisses me off to see people abusing the land like that. So don't do it. Be nice.
Well, even like when we were back in high school days going wheeling and stuff, was that trail near Boulder that got shut down? But long story short, it got shut down because it had a very viable, like, safe area to shoot. There was a large backstop. But the problem was nobody cleaned up what they were shooting. And they eventually, after sponsoring quite a few cleanup days and stuff like that for that area, they got sick of trying to organize that and the fact that nobody would clean stuff up. And that trail was permanently shut down.
Yeah, that's the problem, people, is if you abuse the land like that, like I said, it gives, for one, it's wrong, and you should have good morals and good ethics, and you should clean up after yourself. But two, it gives government authorities an easy avenue to shut down access and say, hey, like, you guys are using this as a trash pit, so we're not going to let you do it. So be good stewards of the land, and if you are one of those people that has left a bunch of trash in the past, go. It's okay. We're gonna absolve you of your sins from this point on, but in the future, in the future, you need to clean up after yourself. And then, so I'll stop. I'm being very preachy right now. I realize that. So I'm going to get off the soapbox and
Okay, Dad.
yeah.
Dad. Just want to go have fun, and shoot shit.
Yeah. I am going to take this public land discussion into a little slightly different direction, and that is how public land can be difficult to access because of how public land in the West was set up. So I'm going to share my screen real quick. All right, so let me see if I can. This is a great example of how the West was distributed. And so for people that are just listening to this, when they were distributing, cutting up land in the West way back in the day, they decided to make just squares, make a square grid, like a checkers board or chessboard. And sometimes this land would be bracketed by private land. So they would sell some of these squares off and they would keep some of them. And occasionally you get things like what we're seeing here, which is you have two public land spaces like these two BLM lands. And the only way that they touch yellow. The yellow is here that you're seeing is BLM land. So this is public land. And the white non-colored is private land. So that someone owns that private land. And so if you're in one of these BLM quadrants, you're like, well, how do I get to the other one when it only touches in the corner? Well, there was a guy in Wyoming that he owned a bunch of private land like that. And he had his private land basically bracketed around this public land. And these hunters from Missouri were trying to get into that far corner public land to go hunting. And what they did was they brought a ladder and they put it over from corner to corner using GPS. So they made sure that they were in the public land, and they put a ladder, and they never touched this guy's private land. So they went up and over, and it's called corner crossing is what is determined. Well, this guy, this really wealthy landowner in Wyoming who doesn't actually live there, he just owns the land. Obviously, I don't feel very fondly about this guy. He got very upset, and he decided to sue these guys in criminal court. And he said that these guys had basically trespassed in his land because they had entered his airspace. They had gone into his airspace and they had accessed his trespass on his private land, and so he was pressing charges, criminal court. Well, this went all the way up to the 10th Circuit Court. Went to a single judge. And that single judge ruled that this guy was out of his mind, and these people never touched foot in his land. They did not trespass. Then he appealed. It went to a 3-judge panel on the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals, and they also ruled that since they did not physically touch his land, they stayed in public land the whole time, they did not trespass, and corner crossing like this is legal. Obviously, the landowner was upset. He was saying that this causes millions of dollars of lost value to his property, because basically what he was trying to do was say that this public land is really only his to utilize because his private land is all around it, and so no one else gets to utilize this public land. And so there it would bring up the value of his land, which obviously that is not the purpose of public land, is for everyone, not just this rich jerk. And he went and appealed it to the U.S. Supreme Court, and they denied to hear it. So what does that mean? That means that in any state that's in the 10th Circuit is absolutely legal for you to corner cross like this, because the last ruling from the judge, federal court, was that this was legal and that you could corner cross. But that legally, at this point, only applies in the 10th Circuit. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen real quick. Oh, I'm in the wrong. There we go. All right. Now, what is that? What states are the 10th Circuit? So if you live in, or if you're in Wyoming, Utah, Colorado, Kansas, New Mexico, and Oklahoma, this is court certified 100% legal. If you are in a different circuit, whether that be the 9th Circuit or the 8th Circuit or any of them, and you try to do this, there's not court precedent in those circuits that allows it. However, if you were to get sued, there is a lot of, the 10th Circuit precedent has already been set that would basically back you up. So if you're in Idaho, Montana, Nevada, California, and you try to do this, there's a good chance that you could be sued. But if you go to court, you have a very, very, very good chance of winning. And then maybe at that point, it would actually could go up to the U.S. Supreme Court, and then it would be ruled across everywhere.
Yeah, the biggest issue with this is people that buy up large sections of property in the squares like you're talking about. And then they preach that it is their property is the only access to that public land. I've heard of a lot about it here in Colorado, especially down south. There's a lot of split up sections of public land down in that area.
Yeah, up in Montana, there's a lot of really wealthy individuals that are trying to build almost as a community of really wealthy individuals. They're trying to buy all the land around sections of private land so that they can control access to the public land. A lot of times there are, in public land like this, these squares that are off by themselves. Call your local BLM office or your local National Forest office and talk to them about what is the best way to get into to access those lands. Sometimes they have easements with the private owners that allow you to traverse across the private land in order to access the public land. In that case, usually all you're allowed to do is, transit across this private land. You're not allowed to stop. You're not allowed to get out and park or anything like that, but you are allowed to transit across. But before you do it, make sure you know that it's okay to do it. Otherwise, you could be considered trespassing. And people out west really don't like it when people trespass on their land. And
people out east don't either.
That is true. Actually, broad statement. People in America don't like it when you trespass on their land. And
my ground.
If you don't like getting shot at, I recommend making sure that you know what you're doing before you do it.
Yeah.
All right, Spencer, give me your thoughts on public land access.
We're in a spot out where I'm at where we don't really have anything as far as public land goes. Everything's owned by somebody or something. We do have things that do interest any of outdoor enthusiasts, hunters, and all that stuff, where we have conservation camps or conservation clubs where they own, say, a 500 to 1,000 acres, where they stock the fish. They try and take care of the deer population. You pay a fee to be part of the club for the year and stuff like that. Where we do not have the privilege of necessarily a lot of a good amount of ground of which we can just go on without paying a fee, without having to ask permission with somebody. And it's something that you don't have. You really don't notice it until you actually see that you do have that liberty somewhere else. So like it was expressed before, if you do have this, I use the word loosely, but the privilege to be able to utilize land that is publicly at public access, is something that's very rare in the other half of the United States, and it's something that you might want to really consider protecting. Otherwise, you have to ask for permission to hunt anywhere. You have to ask for permission to access any kind of ground. It might end up costing you something. It's these. Unfortunately, I think that by the sale of any of these grounds at this time is going to be bought up by, like you said, lobbyists or corporations or a lot of people that have a lot of money. It's not like back in the day where or a situation out here where people buy ground because they need farm ground for, say, a farm or their estate or whatever. And so I think that a lot of the ground would be used more as an investment than utilized in a better way, or that's probably not a term I should have used. It in a way that would benefit more people, I should say.
Yeah, it's not the old days where, the government wants people to go out and settle the land, so they incentivize people to go out and traverse the Oregon Trail by, dangling, hey, if you come out here and settle this land, we'll give you the land, or we'll sell it to you extremely, extremely affordable because we want our people out there. And yeah, what's the term? Born too late to explore across the ocean, born way, too late to settle the West, born too early to settle the stars.
Yeah.
We're just we're right in between. Man, I wonder in our lifetime, I'm going kind of jumping over here, but I wonder in our lifetime if we're going to see like a settlement on Mars. I think so. I think we're going to see probably in the next 30 years people on the moon, like full time on the moon, and people on Mars. And that'll be really interesting.
Yeah, which planet's owned by which country?
Yeah.
There is a battle right now. 100%. It is literally, it's like who gets there first gets to,
Well,
dibs.
isn't there a big land grab in Antarctica right now?
Antarctica, I think is, I could be wrong. I obviously don't
grab?
track.
Ice grab.
Sorry.
I think the Arctic Ocean is definitely a hot topic right now, and that's why you're hearing about the U.S. is very interested in Greenland. has been for a very, very long time, ever since the U.S. purchased Alaska from Russia. At the same time, the U.S. was trying to purchase Greenland, and this is right after the Civil War. That was when the U.S. really started being interested in Greenland, and the purpose now is the Northwest Passage and the shipping lanes. So whoever controls the Northwest Passage controls shipping through the Arctic, and as the ice continues to melt up north, it reduces the shipping time to go from Europe or Africa to maybe to the Pacific. So the time to traverse from the because currently, if you want to go from the Atlantic to the Pacific, you have to either go south of South America, which it takes you a long, long way, or you go through the Panama Canal, which there's a line of ships, costs a lot of money to send a ship through the Panama Canal. Those are your two ways. As the ice starts to melt and the Northwest Passage becomes more accessible year round, then that drops that shipping time significantly, which saves time, fuel, money for these massive shipping companies. And so the United States wants to have control of that, and they deem it as a national defense requirement, because whoever controls the shipping lanes controls all these things. So, well, we currently have only like 2 icebreakers, and they're very, very old. So this is my plug to the United States needs to build a fleet of icebreakers. All right. Any other thoughts on public land? What I will say is some states out west have awesome capabilities like federal land, and like you can go camping on them or shooting on them, and it's like Idaho and Montana, Arizona, and Utah. Arizona's got 9.4 million acres that you buy a permit pretty much, and it allows you to go camping. And I think it's only like $15 to $20 for a year. That's pretty good. In a lot of these western states, you're not just limited to BLM land or national forest land. If you want to just go camp, you can look at what your state local requirement is, and you can go camp on that land. All right. Enough of that. We are going to switch over and talk about televised auctions. And Spencer, you want to lead us on this one?
We're kind of running out of time here. We could always save that for another day.
Yeah, I'll what do you think, Jordan? You want to move on from this? All right. We'll next episode we will talk about televised auctions. And so we're going to leave you hanging on a
spoiler alert, Spencer's going to bitch.
Televised auctions meaning like your Barrett Jackson and
Meekum, a lot of stuff you see on TV.
All right, I'm bringing back this segment. This is I didn't talk about that I was going to do this before these guys showed up, but I'm going to do it. It's another you got to crush, sell, or keep. And
keeping us on
crush, sell, or keep.
Keep us on our toes.
So this one, these guys did not know this was coming. All right, your first one is a first generation 1972 Ford Bronco. 1972 Chevy Blazer, K5 Blazer, and a 1972 Toyota FJ40 Land Cruiser. Those are your 3 vehicles. So you got to crush.
Those are our 3 choices, huh?
Stock or modified?
Let's go modified.
Lordy.
Yeah, it really opens it up.
Well, I'll start out.
Let's go. Yeah, so we'll go modified in your whatever configuration of these vehicles that you like the most.
Then we're crushing, renting, or buying.
Crushing, selling, and keeping. Renting.
Sorry, my internet's kind of foggy here. One more time.
Crush. You got to crush one. You got to sell
Crush.
one, and you get to keep one.
Crush, sell, kill. Okay, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna sell the Bronco
Okay.
because that's probably the most expensive out of all three of those.
This is a business transaction.
And of course, I'm like a broken record over here. I've worked on first generation Broncos. I can't drive them, especially if they got a roll cage in them. I don't fit. Go figure, Spencer. You sound like every other podcast episode. You complain about your fucking how fat you are, but I would now. My second argument, if I'm going to argue as far as fitting in either the FJ or the Blazer, I have had the opportunity to work on a FJ of that body style, and they fit. I fit in those a hell of a lot better than any Bronco or any Jeep. Those things have crazy leg room for the front. But
I didn't know that.
I would imagine that the FJ is going to be rustier than the Blazer. So we're going to crush the FJ and we're going to keep the Blazer.
You stole my idea. That's exactly what I was thinking.
There's not much left. We can crush her.
I think as far as the FJ goes, if you didn't put a new tub on that thing, there ain't much FJ left on it.
It could be an Arizona car. Come on.
I don't even think they
I'm
survive
not even
down
sure
there.
that saves it.
The old Toyotas do love the rust. They love to become one with nature.
They are
returning to their roots. I'm probably in the same boat. I'm probably going to sell the Bronco because it's, I think, in the right configuration, worth more. Although it's probably pretty close to the 72 Blazer.
Yeah, those are pretty popular.
Obviously, we're talking a little different vehicles here. The Blazer's a full size compared to the Bronco and the FJ.
Yeah, they're slightly different, but they're all also very similar. It's two-door with, a bench seat in the back. So, off-road focused.
I think I would sell the Bronco, crush the Blazer, keep the FJ, as long as I could put a new tub on it and modify it.
By you, Brandon.
I'm with Jordan. I'm selling the Bronco. I love Broncos, but honestly, the first generation Bronco is not my favorite. They're iconic. They're great vehicles, but it's just not the Bronco that that if I was to get a Bronco, it's just not the Bronco I would get. I do love the 72 K5. I do love the 72 K5 or 72 K5 Blazer. It is a beautiful vehicle and it's iconic too. But it's sacrilegious, I think, to crush a first generation Bronco. I just think it is. Slightly more than
crushing themselves, so
right.
And I just love. I'm a Land Cruiser guy. I own a Land Cruiser, and so I'm keeping the Land Cruiser. I would love a FJ40 Land Cruiser with a clean tub, and I'd love to put like the Cummins 2.8 in it, or maybe a small V8 in it, and 5-speed. It'd be really fun. So that's my pick. That'd be my weekend grocery getter around town fun vehicle.
Yeah, that'd be pretty sweet.
Yeah. All right. Jordan, you got steals, deals, and disasters for us this week? This is also a surprise. I haven't seen what you're bringing.
I am doing what we talked about
I guess I lied. I did know about this.
You do know about this one.
But yes, okay. You're not wrong. We talked about this a couple days ago.
We did
I
talk
just
about this.
have the memory
So
of a
this-
goldfish.
This through a friend of a friend of a friend of an acquaintance. Got sent some pictures of this car. Growing up, I wanted one of these so bad for no realistic reason. They're cool.
Yeah, what are we, so for the people that aren't listening to, or
Yeah.
are just listening, what are we talking about?
So we've got a 1991 Mitsubishi 3000 GT VR4. They are not the most appealing car to look at
You're really selling it.
by any means, but I don't know why. I've always liked these things. I think factory, they were close to 300 horsepower. All-wheel drive, manual trans. Pretty sweet. They're getting pretty hard to find in a clean capacity here. This one's pretty well done. It's mostly original. It's got some wheels and tires and some creature comforts like a radio and whatnot. But this thing, they've got it listed for about 25 grand. The market for these is very, very specific. So I think if you're going to go for it at that price, it's got to be something you really want. They're going, we did some looking on a couple of auction sites and whatever and marketplace to see what some comparable ones were going for it. Somewhere in the like 12 to 22 range is pretty realistic. I would drive this. I like these things. It does have pretty updated, or not updated, but redone interior, and it's a clean car. I don't think you would fit in this, Spencer.
My little my Texas Instruments computer here is got the is really challenging my eyesight. What's the miles on the
Won't have a list on the mileage. I think it was pretty low. Actually got sent pictures of this outside of finding it on Marketplace originally.
I mean, it looks.
Yeah, I'm surprised you
pretty
haven't
low.
bought it yet. I love the color. It's not really like
That's probably my favorite part of the car. The wheels really complement the color too.
Yeah, I think I'm trying to think of what this color is. It's like a plum purple, but it's
like
also
it's like a maroon,
like a brandy wine.
Yeah, there you go.
That's a good one.
That's
it's like a
great one.
Yeah, brandy wine. That's a great description of it. Yeah, you pour a nice brandy wine in a glass, and then you put four wheels on it. And that's what we're looking at. So this is a cool. What I love about this, and I think these are sleeper cars in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure.
Mitsubishi in this time era, and still today, Mitsubishi makes incredible engines. They really do. What the amount of power and reliability that Mitsubishi can get out of their engines is incredible, and this car is no exception. They were able to get so much power out of these. These are really, I'm sure I've never driven one, but I bet it is a blast to drive, and absolute blast to drive. It's crazy it's crazy how expensive these are now. I bet that, go back when we were in high school, I bet you could pick one of these up pretty cheap. And
yeah, they're almost
cool,
the same as the Dodge Stealth too.
Yeah,
yes.
But I could never own a Dodge, so.
Well, in that era, Mitsubishi's pretty close.
I know.
Well, they had a partnership, and they kind of always have. I think they still kind of have a bit of a partnership, but this was definitely one of their partnership cars. The cool thing about these, and this is a little fun fact of automotive history, if you didn't know this, but if anyone has heard the name John Hennessy, John Hennessy is a world famous Texan that has built a auto modification shop. Uh, that if you want, he takes already fast cars and he makes them stupid fast. He gives them incredible power. And so you can buy like a Mustang and then you can send it to Hennessy and he will give you 1,000 horsepower Mustang or an 800 horsepower Mustang. And he'll do it with Corvettes too and all sorts of vehicles. He started his automotive journey with a Mitsubishi, a 91 Mitsubishi 3000 GT. And he started by running this thing up the Pikes Peak hill climb. He started by running it at the Bonneville Salt Flats. He set a class record with a two-way average speed of 176 miles an hour in a 3000 GT out at Bonneville.
Wow.
Yeah, so Hennessy started with one of these cars, which is pretty cool. So I don't know if you guys knew that.
I did not.
I had
know
no
that.
idea.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'm sure it came with the Hennessy price tag as well.
I mean, it probably does now. But
yeah,
pretty cool.
These are fun little cars. I don't know that I would fit in one, to be honest. I would have to see about that.
Try it on for
bet you
size.
fit.
I think it's a foot problem.
Yeah.
The
wells are not very big.
There's not much room on them. I go to smash the brake pedal or the gas, and I'll hit the brake and the gas at the same time.
I kind of like these underdog tuners. You know, they're that you don't really hear about too often, and they're kind of the following's a little is not as good as maybe like a Lancer or a Supra, and so I really like these kind of underdog cars, but there again, I'm gonna be a cheap ass, and I it's not a car that I expect to enjoy all the time. Might be a car that I expect every now and then. Of course, it's definitely usable by today's standards, but I definitely would probably come in and ask, if I had to buy this car, I'd probably be about 15, 16 grand if I was to buy it.
So this guy's got it listed at 25,000, and I also think that's a steep price for this.
Yeah, I think it's one of those, if you're wanting to sell it at that price, it's going to take you quite a while, and you're going to have to find the right buyer that's wanting this exact deal.
Yeah, there's somebody out there that wants this car bad. He just hasn't
hasn't seen it yet.
That's willing to put up the cashola.
Yeah.
If I was to get one, this is the color I'd get.
I think so.
It's beautiful.
I like the green that they had too.
Yeah, they had that it's like a glossy forest green, wasn't it?
Yeah. But every one of the every car that I saw of this era in that green, the clear coat was frickin' spanked on it. So it really didn't look all that good. So
if I remember correctly, I think they might have had this one either repainted or re-cleared at some point.
90s clear in general, especially Dodges and Mitsubishis. Of course, they use the same paint gun. That for some reason, I couldn't tell you what it is, but that 90s clear does not last. That's why they all look like the way they do now.
If it's seen the sun for more than 5 minutes, it's got problems.
It's compromised.
Yeah. This is good. It's cool. Good find.
Yeah, I like that one.
Yeah.
All right,
Spencer, wrap us up with some inflated 2 cents.
All right, folks, here's Spencer's 2 cents. It may not be worth nothing, but at least it might be worth a listen. Now, today's 2 cents, I got a story for you, fellas. Now, I'm not a very religious man, but this is a very true story. I call this story God and Bob. Okay. Now, This is a true story. However, I did change the names to protect the privacy of those involved in the story. So if we want to imagine what Bob is your stereotypical old rural small town man, where he's very social, and everybody within town knows about Bob, or has heard stories about Bob. And Bob is one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. He'll give the shirt off your back if you ask for it, and he's just a fantastic guy to talk to. My story starts very early one morning. I showed up to work. I show up to the shop, and there's this older gentleman sitting on the hood of a Crown Victoria, about a late '90s Crown Victoria, and walk up to him. How you doing today, sir? He says, "Well, I'm not doing so good. I'm on my way. I'm trying to go across the nation, and I just started this morning, and I broke down, and I have all these issues. Can you take a look at it for me?" So, well, we got kind of a full schedule, and I'm sure we can take a look at it and see if we can't help you out. I said, "Oh, thank goodness." And so he hung out, and we checked the car over, and I says, "I think we can get you taken care of. It'll be about lunchtime when we get you when we get you out of here." He says, "Well, it sounds like it's my only option, so why don't we go ahead and get it done?" So we get him fixed up, and it's right after lunchtime, and said, "All right, well, you should be good to go." And he was nothing but thankful. He said, "Oh my God, thank you so much for helping me out. This you can't imagine how stressed I was, and God brought me here. I think God was looking out for me today, and he knew that you were the ones to help me out, and I couldn't help but thank the guy that brought me over here." And I said, "Now hold on a minute. Who suggests you to come on over?" He says, "I broke down at the gas station over here, and this old gentleman came up to me and said he knows just where to take me, and that you guys were going to be the ones to help me get me back on the road." And so I followed him over here, and I can't, and it's just amazing how I thank God every day, the whole day for bringing me to you. And I said, "Well, now hold on a minute. Did this guy kind of talk different? And did he look like this? And did you follow this car over?" Yeah, that's him. That's it." I said, "Well, that's not God. That's Bob." And so, if we're going to pull anything out of this story, folks, it's life is hard. Life is tough. Everybody's got some kind of battle that they're facing one way or another. And little acts of kindness can really do us and help somebody on their way. And that is your 2 cents. You take it as you want, but it's my 2 cents.
Hopefully everyone's got a Bob out there looking out for them.
There's a lot of Bobs.
Yeah. In a world full of not Bobs, be a Bob.
Be a Bob.
There you go.
Be a Bob.
Another t-shirt.
That's good. Thanks, Spencer. Thanks for sharing.
Absolutely, guys.
Oh, my heart is warmed. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up this episode of Fuel, Fire, and Freedom. Thank you for listening. If you've made it this far, we really appreciate it, especially because Spencer's got the best inflated 2 cents on the this round planet we call Earth. You're really it's beneficial for you to make it this far, but if you have, we really appreciate it. Tell Grandma that she can turn the YouTube feed off now, and she can get up and get on with whatever she was doing the rest of her day. But give us a like, give us a subscribe, follow us on TikTok and Instagram, and wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you so much, and God bless you all.